The wind on Keprenine never screamed. It whispered, a low, endless murmur that crawled over dunes of black glass and ash, carrying static and memory in equal measure. The planet's sun sat bloated and red on the horizon, half submerged in a haze of ionized dust, painting the sky with bruised purples and dying oranges. Nothing here moved quickly anymore. Even time felt tired. Lieutenant Marcus Hale stood alone at the edge of the abandoned landing pad, his boots half buried in drifted cinders, his breath fogging inside the cracked visor of his helmet. The armor he wore was old-patched too many times, joints stiffened by sand and years. The insignia of the Terran Expeditionary Corps had been burned half away by plasma long ago, but he still wore it. Not out of pride, out of habit, out of stubborn refusal. To let the universe decide what parts of him were. Finished, he had been. Stationed on Keprenine for 612 days, no resupply, no rotation, no evacuation order, that ever came. The war that had brought him here had ended without him. Or maybe it hadn't ended at all. It just burned itself out somewhere beyond the reach of this dead system. The long-range comes array behind him still blinked a weak amber light, cycling endlessly through frequencies that returned nothing but cosmic hiss. Marcus didn't check it anymore. Hope, he had learned, was heavier than armor. He turned slowly, scanning the horizon as the planet's dim light caught on jagged ruins half swallowed by sand. Once, there had been a joint research outpost here, human and alien scientists working together to study pre-collapse artifacts left behind by a civilization that had erased itself millennia before humanity ever left Earth once. Now it was a graveyard of steel and stone. Echoing with ghosts and wind, Marcus flexed his fingers inside his gauntlet. The joints ached. Everything ached now. He was 57 years old, ancient by infantry standards, practically a fossil by expeditionary doctrine. His body bore the quiet tally of decades of service. A reconstructed knee, synthetic vertebrae, a heart reinforced with biomesh after a shrapnel incident on Titan's moons. He had survived everything the galaxy had thrown at him, except being left behind. The inciting anomaly came not as a sound but as a feeling, a pressure behind the eyes, a faint, crawling sensation at the base of his skull, like static brushing against thought itself. Marcus froze. His training kicked in before fear had time to form. He dropped to one knee, rifle rising, visor sensors flaring as he scanned for movement. Nothing. The dunes lay still. The ruins slept. Then the pressure sharpened, and a voice thin, brittle, unmistakably not human, whispered inside his mind. Signal detected. Biological cognition. Confirmation pending. Marcus sucked in a sharp breath. Telepathic contact was rare. Dangerous. Most species capable of it avoided humans altogether. Our neural architecture was too loud, too chaotic. When it did happen, it was never accidental. He turned toward the ruins. The whisper pulsed again, stronger this time, threaded with something else. Loneliness. Against every regulation he'd ever sworn to follow, Marcus powered down his rifle's safety and started walking. The journey into the ruins was slow and punishing. The glass sands sliced at his boots. Razor-edged stone formations loomed like broken teeth. The air carried faint electromagnetic interference that made his HUD flicker and ghost dot as he moved. Memories crept in uninvited. The first time he'd seen an alien world not through a viewport, but under his boots. The first friend he'd lost. The first planet he'd helped evacuate too late. Faces blurred together now. A collage of lives intersecting briefly with his before vanishing into the dark. He wondered, not for the first time, if humanity's greatest talent was survival or forgetting. The ruins rose suddenly before him. Half-buried towers and collapsed corridors carved from materials that shouldn't have existed. Surfaces shifted subtly under his gaze, geometry refusing to settle. His instruments screamed quietly in protest. This place was older than humanity, older than most stars. The pressure in his mind intensified as he crossed the threshold into the central structura. Vast dome split open like a cracked skull. Inside, the air was still. Too still, dust lay undisturbed, as if time itself had been held at bay. Lights flickered to life as he stepped. Forward, soft, blue. Organic Marcus lowered his rifle. He moved deeper, footsteps echoing unnaturally, sound bending in ways that made distance meaningless. He passed through chambers filled with alien consoles, crystalline growths humming with residual energy. Murals depicting beings of impossible form reaching toward the star's end, then inward, toward themselves. Logs flickered on dormant terminals as his presence triggered ancient protocols. He couldn't read the language, but emotion translated cleanly across. Millennia, fear, regret, obsession. This civilization had not been destroyed by war. They had chosen. It's changed. At the heart of the complex, Marcus found her. She sat within a ring of softly glowing glyphs, her body tall and slender, skin the color of pale moonstone, veined faintly with bioluminescent lines. Her eyes large, dark, reflective, lifted to meet his as he entered. She was unmistakably alien and unmistakably alive. He felt her presence fully now, her mind brushing against his. Cautious, curious, aching with centuries of isolation. "You are human," she said aloud. Her voice melodic yet fragile, shaped carefully around unfamiliar sounds. "Yes," Marcus replied, his own voice rough with disuse. "My name is Marcus Hale." She inclined her head. "I am Sira of the Lithri." The name carried weight. "History." "You're alone," Marcus said. "Yes." "How long?" She hesitated. "Longer than your species has known fire." The revelation settled between them like falling ash. She explained slowly, carefully. The Lithiri had been a people obsessed with survival, not of bodies, but of consciousness. When extinction loomed, they had chosen transformation, abandoning physical form to merge with a planetary intelligence. Sira had refused. She had believed in continuity, in children, in memory carried forward biologically, yet not digitally. But her people had left her behind. "No one marries my race," she said quietly, eyes lowering. "We are considered incompatible, unstable. Our genetics are valuable only for study. But I can bear children." The words were not a proposition. They were a confession, a grief spoken aloud for thee. First time in eons, Marcus felt something crack open inside his chest. He thought of the empty barracks, the unanswered transmissions, the slow realization that humanity too would one day be archived rather than remembered. He removed his helmet. The air burned his lungs, but he welcomed the pain. "I've buried wives," said softly. "Friends. Entire worlds. I was supposed to die young. Didn't." Sira looked at him, truly looked, her gaze tracing the lines of age, the scars, the quiet resilience etched into his face. "You are." "Old," she said, uncertain. He smiled faintly. "Older than I planned to be." They talked for hours. About humanity's endless contradictions. About the Lithiri's fear of loss. About whether survival without connection was truly survival at all. The major twist revealed itself not as betrayal but as possibility. The facility was not just a ruin, it was an ark, a gene forge, capable of weaving compatible hybrid life-bridging species. Preserving diversity without erasure, the Lithiri had abandoned it. Fearing what it meant, Marcus faced a choice no soldier's manual could prepare him for: return to solitude, and wait for a rescue that might never come. Or stand, become something new. Transformation was not painless. The process rewrote him, cell by cell, merging human adaptability with Lithari longevity. He felt heat, pressure, expansion of senses beyond anything his old body had known. He felt fear and then calm. When he emerged, Sira was waiting. He was still human, but more. The incoming signal arrived. Days later, human, clear, real, a search vessel. Drawn by the Ark's awakening, Marcus stood beside Syrah as the sky. Filled with descending light, the universe had not forgotten him after all, and for the first time in decades, he did not feel the need to answer alone. Hope, he realized, was not heavy. It was shared.